When I first found out I was going to be in the natural progression tournament, I thought it was like a great opportunity for me to show the British fans on a higher platform like my talents in the ring, because for years I feel like, and maybe because of my age or just being from Wales where the wrestling scene isn't amazing, there hasn't been a lot of opportunity to really show on a grand platform just, you know, my talents in the ring. And this was the first opportunity where I could really show it to a large crowd, a lot of online fans, and just for the guys backstage as well. I could show them my talents in the ring and, you know, show them that I'm a face to remember in British wrestling.
Excited because when the Progress fans first saw me, it wasn't not even an inch of what I could do, because a lot of people were mistaken to think that I'm just a one-hit wonder, that's all I can do, and I was excited because this was a chance to show my potential.
When I found out I was going to be part of the Natural Progression series, I was relieved more than anything that finally I was being recognised for the talent that I am.
How did I feel when I was announced for the Natural Progression series? Well, I thought it was kind of cheeky, really, from Progress to put me in the Natural Progression series, considering I've been wrestling for 10 years, and then I come to this company I haven't wrestled much for, and they tell me that I'm going to be wrestling in the Natural Progression series. This for the new guys.
I should not have to enter a tournament to prove that I am the future of this business, but to be recognised as such and to be entered into the tournament seemed only fair.
I guess I was just pretty psyched to be wrestling for Progress regardless. The fact that it was the Natural Progression, in a lot of ways, I guess it just means that if I can come out on top of that match, then I've got myself another match at Progress. So as soon as I won that match, in a lot of ways, that sort of gives you the security of knowing that you're coming back for another match. So that was great. Obviously, I think that when it started, it was hard to know how big of a deal it was going to be, whether it was going to be something which you know really meant a lot, whether it was just there's so many tournaments in the UK and the scene, but it's something that has kept on rolling, and the significance obviously of the final being a main event, I think puts over quite how much Progress want this to be a staple of their product, that they sort of promote upcoming talent, or talent maybe that less people know about than other talent. So yeah, it was great to be in it. It was great to get through that first match, and yeah, great experience, I guess.
I looked at it again and I realised, hang on, I'm not as out there as I was before, and I'm not doing as much as I was before, so it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to show that I'm still about, to show that I'm one of the best, if not the best, which is being proven now.
When I first found out I was wrestling William Ospreay in the first round of the Natural Progression tournament, I was excited. You know, William's a great talent, and I'd seen his stuff before that.
I watched quite a lot of his footage from Chapter 2 against Mike Hitchman, and a lot of his stuff outside of Progress, and I just looked over it and over it and over it, and I just studied his moves and where he was going to hit, and I spent hours just trying to keep up with my cardio with him, because I know he is a fast guy, but I would like to think, I was thinking in the match, maybe I'm faster, maybe I can outwit him in here, and maybe, if I'm honest, I don't know. My preparation was just, I need to beat him, and it was a study, and that's all you can really do in wrestling.
I've met him a few times before, and he's a really good talent. If I'm honest, I felt quite threatened because he's got a very similar style to me. He's incredible in the ring, and I felt that he'd almost made waves very early on in his career, and people started, you know, following him real fast, and it was only his lack of experience which meant I ended up on top in the ring, which was great for me because it meant that my experience paid off.
How I thought the match went, well, it's a tough question, because in my personal opinion is that when Mark beat me, I kept saying to myself, damn, no, I could have done better there. And I said to myself, oh, I slipped up. and I made mistakes, and I don't normally make mistakes, and it annoyed me and it frustrated me. You could see in my face as soon as the ref counted 3, I say, damn, like, he beat me. But I then turn around and I look around, and this is the first standing ovation I've ever got, and it was the moment where I think it defined me as a wrestler, because no one knew who Will Ospreay was. Everyone heard the name, but they wasn't sure who I was. And I believe in my heart of hearts that Chapter 4, when Will Ospreay stepped in the ring with Mark Andrews, it made me who I am today.
In the next few years, when William, you know, gets even more experience behind under his belt, he's really going to make even more waves in the wrestling scene. It's definitely my experience that paid off in the match, because he's a great talent, and I think if we were to have that match again for a 3rd time when he's even more experienced in a few years, you know, who knows who'd come out on top.
When I found out that I had Wild Boar in the first round of the Natural Progression series, I was disgusted. I was disgusted that Progress would put me in a matchup with an animal, a savage. I'm a man of pedigree, of great standing, and you wanted me to wrestle that filthy animal. So to prepare, it was quite simple. I just knew I had to out-wrestle him, and that's exactly what I did. Of course I won that match fairly. It's clear for all to see. I was the better man on that day, and I would be the better man on any other day. I am what wrestling is. I am the Natural Progression, and Wild Boar is not even close to having the pedigree and the athleticism and the wrestling ability that I possess.
Coming up to the match with MK McKinnan, it was funny. It was a weird one because obviously I'd taken his place previously, but I was quite nervous going into that match because I'd heard a lot about MK. I asked around and I was told that he hits hard and he's going to hurt you. So I did do a lot of training. I did a lot of bag work before I wrestled MK, and I just went back to my kickboxing roots and I trained hard, and I did a lot of work for MK. And I tell you what, I don't think I did enough. He hits a lot harder than people made out. I think a couple of times he caught me and I dropped. I don't even think I could stay on my feet. Full respect to the guy, but no, it was fun, and I look forward to going at it again.
I was psyched to be, like I said, I was psyched to be in the match regardless. So the fact that it was a 4-way didn't really bother me. Obviously, it means that there's a lot more bodies in there. There's more potential to slip up and make a mistake, I guess. But then there's more potential to impress because there's a lot of different people in there that you can do different types of things with. I suppose the kind of things that I would do with a Joey Lakeside would be really different to the kind of things that I would do with a Xander and with a Darrell as well. So it didn't bother me that it was a 4-way dance really. Same, you know, you still got to win it to go on to the next round. So whether it had been a singles against Darrell or singles against Xander, you know, a 3-way dance or a 4-way, really made no difference to me. The outcome had to be the same. I had to win. So.
When I had my second match with Will, he wanted to be back in the tournament, and he wanted to challenge me for my spot in the tournament. And the only way I was going to do that is if he put his career on the line, his career in progress at least.
My thoughts were, I know I could beat him. That was my fault. And I kept saying to myself, why did I make this mistake? Why didn't I do this? I know I can beat you, Mark. And I kept saying that to myself over and over again, and I wasn't even in contact for Mark for quite some time, and I kept watching the footage back and over again. And I don't know what it was, but I just said to Mark, I know I can beat you. And that's no disrespect to Mark. I love Mark to bits. I just kept saying to him, I can beat you. And if I can beat you, then that means I can win the natural progression series. I know I could do it.
He was a threat in Progress, and not just backstage, but in front of the crowd. You know, he was young, he was athletic, and the only difference between me and him was that he was a little bit less experienced than me, and that's, you know, why it paid off in the ring for me both times. As I said, if we were to wrestle again in the future, once he's got more experience under his belt, who would know who would come out on top, because he's a great talent. But the reason I had to ask him to put his career on the line in Progress was because as long as he was around, there would always be a constant competition between us, and if I want to go up to a bigger level in Progress and to a main event level, then I need to be the only one who can do that style in Progress, and he was the biggest threat. Our second match, I mean, it was more intense than our first match, you know. Our first match, it just clicked. Like, we were very competitive in the ring, and it was as if we knew each other, you know, inside out, even though we'd never wrestled before, because we'd just seen each other's footage and we'd just seen how each other wrestle, and I guess we could empathise with each other because we could see a bit of ourselves in each other in the ring. And the second time round, it was just more intense, it was more competitive, and it was more emotional in the ring as well. You know, I feel like the crowd could understand that as well, because they were all there live, and, you know, they could see that we were both really trying so hard to keep our spot in Progress.
I felt so embarrassed. In this day and age, it's very hard to find work, especially in the wrestling business. Like, outside of this, I'm an electrician, you know, I'm an electrician's mate. You know, I don't make that much money, like, and that's because I put all my time and effort into wrestling, and I can't even afford a gym membership. You know, I try so hard to just be the best, and I thought Progress is the place where you don't have to be a muscle-bound goon. You could just go out there and you could show people how much of a good wrestler you are. And knowing that it was all over like that, you just don't know how to react to something like that. And I put my head up and I said, thank you very much. But deep down, I'm gutted. I'm so annoyed with myself, because I know I should be in that final. I should be against Paul Robinson, and I know I should be in there. Sometimes you just have to accept that you are just not ready. And I feel like I was not ready.
I think I realised once I won that match and we were standing in the ring together, you know, what had happened and how he had to then leave Progress, and it was sad because Will's a great talent and he's got a great future ahead of him. I'm sure that it's not the last of him that we've seen in Progress.
When I found out I had Mark Andrews in the semi-finals, I was ecstatic to finally get my hands on that snivelling little rat. He flies around, and everybody loves Mark Andrews, don't they? Because he flips. That's not what wrestling is all about. And that was my opportunity to prove to the people at Progress that that is not what wrestling is about.
The semi-final match that I had with Jonathan Windsor, I mean, that was a fun match. Jonathan is quite a cocky wrestler, but he's very talented in the ring as well, especially with his groundwork, you know, and his chain wrestling. I'm not sure if many people are aware, but I'm also quite well trained in chain wrestling and with my groundwork. Often you don't get to see that with my style because it's more of a high-flying style, but I think I almost caught him off guard with my chain wrestling, because he must have expected just a flippy, high-flying, you know, guy, and he thought he could take me down to the ground before I could, you know, use my agility against him. But I think I surprised him when I showed him that I could actually chain wrestle, you know, quite well as well.
When Mark Andrews progressed, I was irate. It proved to me in no uncertain terms that it's better to be lucky than it is to be talented. On that day, and on that day alone, he was able to beat me. On any other day, he would not progress. There is not one person in Progress or in any other wrestling company in this or any other country that could genuinely argue that I am not a better wrestler than he is. He got lucky, and that's all there is to it.
I just feel like his arrogance maybe got the better of him in the ring. A little bit too much time, you know, taunting the crowd and taunting me, and that's why I came up on top, you know. But nonetheless, I was still just as driven in that match as I was against William Ospreay, and as driven as I'll be against Paul Robinson in the finals, because no one's going to stop me from winning this tournament.
Going up against Eddie Dennis, to be honest with you, it was nothing I'm sort of unaware or it's nothing I'm new to. Of being 5'3" and weighing about 130 pounds, I'm used to going up against guys that are taller than me, heavier than me and bigger than me.
I guess going into the matchup with Paul, I was overly aware that there was a massive size difference there. I legitimately tried to spend a little bit of time preparing for someone who presents those particular problems. So he's a lot smaller than me, so he doesn't present strength or power issues the same way as a bigger guy would, but he's a lot faster than me, a lot more athletic than me, so he presents a lot of different problems in that sense. I'm lucky that a lot of my legitimate close personal friends around professional wrestling are quite slight as well. We've spoken about Mark, my friend Flash Morgan, my friend Pete and Damien Dunn, they're all smaller guys. So there's opportunity to train with a lot of smaller guys on a relatively regular basis. I'm quite comfortable in that environment, being the larger man in a match.
I watched old tapes that I had wrestled, like matches I'd done before, and I see what I'd done, what worked against the big guys, when was it that they got the better of me and why they got the better of me. And I just looked back, and then obviously there was you've got to think about the Swords of Essex. Me and Will Ospreay, I knew Mark Andrews had knocked out Will, and this was my opportunity to get one step closer to Mark Andrews and one step closer to getting a little bit of justice, a little bit of payback for Will Ospreay.
I had thought about the potential of wrestling Mark in the final, which I suppose had it happened would have been bittersweet for us. On one token, winning natural progression, guaranteeing yourself a title shot and being in the main event of Progress Chapter 10, which is somewhat a bit of a big deal, being as though it's the 10th show and stuff. Would have been massive for it to have been the defending guys against each other. So it would have been the coolest thing to have got to wrestle him. The bittersweet thing then obviously isn't trying to hurt my good friend, which is never that pleasant.
Me and Eddie go a long way back, you know. We're friends outside of wrestling. We met through wrestling, we set up our own clothing brand, you know, we tagged together. Eddie's one of my closest friends, and it would have been great if I could have wrestled him in the finals of this tournament, of the natural progression tournament. For sentimental reasons, it would have been great, because me and Eddie have come a long way in the last few years, and to really, you know, to show up both of our styles and both of our talents in the ring against each other in the final on such a big platform would have been great for both of us.
You know, we've done stuff with each other before, and I'm sure we'll do stuff with each other again somewhere down the line. It's one of those things which I think when it gets booked, you just shake hands before, shake hands after, and let what happens during that bell-to-bell portion, may the cards fall as they may, sort of thing, and just do the best you can in that environment. I would have been psyched to have got to wrestle Mark, in all honesty. The fact that we were friends would have just made it more special than any sort of holding back. I don't think either of us would have held back on the opportunity to main event the Progress show and the opportunity to get a title shot in the future. Would have certainly stopped us from having any feelings towards one another when we would have held anything back.
It's a crying shame that he couldn't beat Paul Robinson in the semi-finals, but that just proves how tough Paul Robinson is, because, you know, to take a man down of Eddie's size is hard. You know, I've been there before.
I didn't just want to beat Eddie Dennis, I didn't just want to do my thing that I normally do. I wanted to make sure I beat him and he remembered how I beat him.
To take him down with a shooting star press, also play some mind games with me, because that's my finishing move.
I made sure I climbed the top rope. I made sure I performed the best shooting star press this country has seen for a very, very long time.
Proves that Paul Robinson might feel the exact same way that I do about winning this tournament. And if he can take down a man like Eddie, then, you know, he's definitely got a good shot against beating me.
And I beat Eddie Dennis. Simple. Now Mark Andrews, you're next.
So on reflection, I deserve to be in the final of the natural progression tournament. Obviously, I should have had a bye directly to the final. Look at me, and then look at the other people that I was forced to compete against. I dispatched an animal in Wild Boar. I took Mark Andrews to the limit, and if it wasn't for the distractions and the machinations of all of those people at Progress in the crowd and in the management, they never wanted me to win. They never wanted to see a man like me in the final. But be that as it may, now I hope that Mark Andrews wins the final. And I hope that he goes on to take that Progress Championship. Because when I see him again, it will be all the sweeter when I finally get what I deserve and beat him. Then there will be no doubt that I am the natural progression.
I think that people maybe don't realise, because of the guys that they're in the ring with, those two both always look much smaller than their opponent. But I think, having wrestled both of them, that you'll find that Mark is actually noticeably bigger than Paul. I think that Mark is actually quite a bit bigger than Paul. I think that Mark is probably a little bit stronger than Paul, but I don't think there's a massive difference in their speed. So it could come down to that, whereas both of those guys would normally rely on their speed and athleticism. There really isn't going to be an edge there, but I think Mark might have an edge in the strength department. I think that could come into play. Stylistically, I think they mesh together well. I'm not sure that they've ever wrestled each other before anywhere, which is weird because they've both been on the scene for so long, and they're both sort of openly regarded as two of the best cruiserweights in the country. So it's weird that they've never wrestled each other before, but I don't think they have wrestled each other before. Stylistically, I think it should be a phenomenal match. But I do think that the size edge that Mark has, however slight, might make the difference on the night. We'll have to wait and see.
My friendship with Paul Robinson is that Paul is my tag team partner. We are in a tag team called the Swords of Essex.
Me and Will Ospreay, we go back a very, very long way. I think I must have been about 16, 17 when I first met Will. He would have been about 12. It was, we'll tell you where we came from. I came from the same place as Ospreay. We met in his back garden, doing something we shouldn't have been doing.
Paul took me under his wing when I said to him that I would like to go into the pro wrestling scene, and he told me the directions to go, and a year of solid hard work with Paul, and he put me through quite a lot, you know. You just, every day with Paul, I'd be training, I'd be working hard with him, just trying to think of new moves and things that make someone different in the UK scene, because we're all very similar. To see that Paul is my best friend and he's taken me under his wing, and to see that he is against the guy that I honestly got respect so much after these two matches. I believe that what I couldn't do, Paul Robinson can do. I think that on November 24th, when Paul Robinson steps into the ring with Mark Andrews, I, honest to God, hand on heart, think Paul Robinson is going to win.
We just need to bring Will Ospreay back into Progress, but it's not going to happen. So my little bit of justice will be to beat Mark Andrews and get payback for my best friend inside wrestling and my best friend outside of wrestling, Will Ospreay.
I've never wrestled Paul Robinson before, which is really surprising because we're in the same area. You know, we're both from Britain, we both have very similar styles, and we've both been around for a lot longer than some people might think. I think one thing that stands out with both me and Paul in this tournament is that we were probably the most experienced people involved in this tournament. Other than maybe Wild Boar and Eddie Dennis, I feel like we've been wrestling the longest, and even longer than those two. So that's one thing that people probably don't realise when they first see us wrestle, is that although we're both young and reasonably small, we've actually been around for a small while. I mean, I know I'm coming up to my 8th year wrestling now, and I think it's probably a similar time for Paul as well. That's probably the reason why both of us have come this far, because the Natural Progression tournament has been full of a lot of fresh, young, up-and-coming guys, and although I do class myself in that category, I also have a lot of experience behind me, and so does Paul. So I think that our experience has really paid off, and now is when, you know, we both meet each other in the main event.
I tell you what, I'm going to prove next week at Progress in the final how much I want the title shot, how much it means to me, because all I've done is fight, fight, fight and try and get my way to the top, and that's where I want to be. No one wants to be at the bottom, everyone wants to be at the top. So to get a shot at Rampage Brown, people would think Rampage Brown, Paul Robinson, the guy's huge, I get that, but as I proved in the last round, size doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm dying, I'm absolutely begging for this title shot. So Mark Andrews has really got something coming at him.
Who knows what's going to happen? You know, both experienced wrestlers, and we both have very similar styles. We use the same finishing move. We've both come this far in the tournament. You know, to beat Eddie Dennis, as I said, for Paul Robinson to beat Eddie Dennis is huge in my books, and I feel like I've come through a few tests myself to get this far.
This isn't the smiley Paul Robinson you get now, the smiley Paul Robinson that you've had in previous rounds. I will be Paul Robinson the fighter. I will be Paul Robinson, the man that wants that title shot, the man that wants Rampage Brown. Simple as that. Mark Andrews has got a lot coming.
I think Paul's an incredible talent. I think Paul is, you know, if it wasn't for me, he'd be winning this tournament. But because I'm in this tournament, he's not going to win, and I am.